Hey, welcome to another episode of the Myokinetix Podcast. Today we have the most loyal patient ever. She's been with us, with the company, with me, since before we would have this like all fancy equipment studio, since when like pre-pandemic, right? Yeah, pre-pandemic. So that feel like 10 years ago when we were just a small clinic in a CrossFit gym. And I remember just meeting Allie, meeting her family, and just helping her through, her knee injury during that time. One of the best moments I had from that was help her get back to playing basketball. I personally ordered a basketball hoop. I don't know if you remember.
Yes, I do.
To place outside of the parking lot so we can do some return to play in basketball. So it's such an incredible journey to just have her here at the podcast. Talked about her growth as a person, as a student, as an athlete, but just to hear like how now she's applying to college, so I feel super old. So let's jump in. But welcome to the show, Allie.
Thank you.
So happy to have you here.
I'm so happy.
So can you tell our listener a little bit about you, who you are, where you're from, where you grew up?
Yeah. So hi, I'm Allie Gazzardo. I'm a junior in high school currently. My whole life, as Dr. Natty said, I played basketball. I swiftly moved to volleyball now, so I enjoy playing that. I have a job right now. I work at Starbucks, and I've been here for like almost 4 years, I think. It'll be 4 years in the summer. I don't know. I just have a lot of injuries right now.
So let's dive in a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So obviously your journey with us started with you playing basketball. Mm-hmm. How did your journey with basketball get started?
Oh, so basically my dad took us outside one time to like a park and was like, hey, let's go play. I was like in 3rd grade with my brother. And he was like, try to get this basket in the hoop. Try to get this basketball in the hoop. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, it turned into a competition between my brother and I got the first one in, and he was like, oh, wait, like, you're actually kind of good for, like, starting out. And I was like, okay, cool. So then it just went on from there, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
So at that point, did you play any other sport before, or?
Yeah, I played soccer. I tried swimming for a couple years, I would say. Mm-hmm. But once I started basketball, that was it. Like, my parents were like, oh my God, you guys are like really good, my brother and I. And we just started from there, and we just went to training and all that stuff. And like we quit all the other sports.
So how fast did that ramped up?
Oh, pretty fast. Like I want to say after like not even a year, like close to a year, it was just basketball. They were like, we're going to take this seriously. They were like, consider all of your trips business trips to go to college.
Wow.
Yeah. So ever since I started, they were like I want to say like 4th, 5th grade, they were like, all these trips are business trips. Use this to your advantage because, like, you could get money off for college and stuff, and you could get famous. They were shouting out that famous word and whatnot.
Yeah.
And, like, that's how it, like, pretty much started.
Okay. So how do you feel during that time to just kind of go all in to just basketball? Did that take the fun element away from the sport?
Yeah, a couple times it did because I felt like it was more of, like, a job. That my parents made it feel like a job, and obviously that was a huge struggle for me because I'm a type of person that I love fun. I love having fun, especially here. But I always try to tell myself that competition, I'm a very competitive person. I always want to win. So the fun aspect did sleep out after years went by, but I did try to reel myself in and be like, I can do this type thing. Yeah. At
which point where you start realizing the fun was kind of fading away, and how do you slowly try to reintroduce it back?
So I realized that the fun was slipping away, I want to say towards middle school when I first started 7th going into 8th grade. Basically they kept saying like high school's a big thing, like you need to get good grades, you need to like do very well every time we went to go to tournaments like Chicago or even like Georgia I remember going to. They would always imply that like this needs to happen, like you need to get into a good high school basketball program for you to go to college and play D1. Like the D1 word, like the D1 like phrase really like I felt like not messed me up in a way, but it definitely changed my aspect on volleyball. Oh no, basketball. Oh poop.
It's okay. Spoiler alert.
Yes. But like as myself to reel it in, I would just think to myself that like, oh yeah, I could be famous one day. Obviously there's a 3% chance of like actually achieving that fame and stuff. But I was always just think of the competition and the cool merch that I would get, especially because I was part of like the Nike programs and stuff and the EYBL. So I would like go get the cool merch, the shoes too. Those were the best. So that's how I kind of like kept myself entertained along the way.
Well, as you kind of ascend into the basketball world, I assume that some of your core friends at the time were not in the same world as basketball. So were you able to stay in touch with some of those people, or do you have to actually create like a whole new friend group as you keep evolving into the basketball world?
Yeah, so it was definitely a big challenge for me. I definitely had two set friend groups. My basketball friend group, like we were known as sisters, like we were family, like hardcore family, like we would do anything for each other. But my other side during school, that kind of fell apart because of how far away I was and how my mind was just basketball. And my parents were basketball, like everyone was, including my aunts, uncles, my grandparents too, since they knew how much hard work we put into it. But it was definitely gave me some trouble because it was very hard to contact them. Definitely, because sometimes we would be different time zones. Sometimes we would even talk at all. Like they had their own thing. It was definitely a big struggle. So yeah. Yeah,
because I think once you get into like the basketball world and the travel sport world, it's different.
Yeah.
It's a whole different animal. Like as like a clinician, when I see it, it's kind of like a cult.
Yes, it literally is a cult. Like you just see people like outside, like in school nowadays, people don't wear normal backpacks. They wear their like their basketball like Nike or Adidas, and it says their basketball like team name on it now. And I'm just like, where did this come from? Like when I was younger, I never had that kind of stuff. I don't think you did either. But
no, JanSport book bag all the way.
Yeah, literally. Like when I was younger, I grew up wearing LL Bean. I never grew up wearing those Nike bags nowadays with like the basketball zipper and stuff. Like I never grew up wearing that. Now kids are wearing that, and I'm just like, where did you guys like get this from?
Yeah, I think the trajectory of like travel sport, I mean, they commercialize it to the next level, and they somehow integrate this narrative that you need to do travel sport, you need to do this in order to play at D1. I think they use the word D1 a lot to get people to do that. But from my professional perspective, because of that, I also see high burnout in younger athletes where they completely left the sport.
Yeah.
I also see like crazy injuries that normally does not happen unless you play basketball for like 30 years. So like stress fracture, like that one NCAA tournament in Louisville where that one guy leg snapped, like that doesn't really happen. It happens so much because there's so much volume in a short period of time, right? Yeah. Back in the day, people would just play basketball for winter sport and then they move on to track or they move on to football and all of that stuff. But now it's just basketball. And this is the weirdest thing, and I hate bringing this up, but if you see basketball players like LeBron James, all those guys, if you look at their feet.
Yes.
Does that scare you?
Like, yes, kind of. Because, like even, like, you can tell by the way their foot shaped through their shoes that you could see that it's, like, a wide stance and even, like, very narrow and stuff.
Hey, Cody.
Oh, my God. He scared me. I didn't know what that was.
Get over here.
I just got so scared. But anyway, it's you could just tell he's been like, I don't even know the word, but like you could just tell he's put through much hard work through that.
Would the body adapt to the stresses placed upon? So, well, let's bring you in, right? So obviously middle school, super intense because there's all this pressure to do well in high school. We started working with you 8th grade to freshman year.
Yes.
Right. So, like, just tell the listener about that, because that's when things kind of start falling apart a little bit for you.
So definitely my 8th grade year, at the beginning of the year, I definitely had it was definitely one of my big highlights of my year. 7th grade to the beginning of 8th grade was definitely my best basketball year, I will say. But as the year progressed, I had 2 bone bruises on both my knees, and that definitely pushed me back a bit, physically and mentally as well. But as the season carried on, my knees got worse and worse, and I could tell the pain was getting so unbearable to the point where I just cried every day. Like I couldn't handle it at all. And then as I kept going back to the orthopedic, he was like, oh, try Myokinetix, you know, they're really great with athletes. So we tried them, and then that's when we saw Matt. And once then he like did like this knee thing or whatever, made me step up.
Yeah.
No, not even the tape. He like pushed his, like, I don't know what it's called, but he pushed like his hands,
Oh yeah,
my
just
knees.
mobilizing your patella.
And I did it, and my parents were like, what happened? And then he's like, what happened? I'm like, I don't feel any pain. Like, it's gone. Like, I almost started crying in that moment. And like when I got in the car, I started crying because I'm like, there's no more pain. Like, I'm like, that is so weird to me. And just like the whole time during basketball season 2, like I was a mess. Like, I couldn't deal with the pain that was there. So yeah.
How did you like talk it through of like normal life, middle school girl with no pain to a middle school girl who constantly lived with pain?
It was basically like a middle school girl with no pain. Like, you're all Laffy Daffy. You're so like carefree. You focus on your work. You don't have to focus on like icing your knee every 20 minutes and like doing something about that, or having the pressure of like remembering to do your stretches or whatever. Of course, stretch though, I will say. But, and then to someone who experiences like pain all the time and like playing a constant sport, like you're in constant pressure to make sure you remember to take the vitamins that you like are prescribed, or like remember to take Advil, Tylenol, even to take turmeric. I even had turmeric to ice your knee, like get the like a butter knife even to like massage your muscles around there. But like it's just constant pressure, and like my normal life at the time was weird. Like I couldn't go, like my friend one time had a party at Sky Zone and I couldn't even like I couldn't even go because of my knees. I couldn't jump on the trampoline. Like that crushed me. And like even what else? Like I don't know, like that whole time having knee pain is completely different to being like another girl with no pain and not playing a sport constantly. But yeah.
So hop back on that a little bit. What about the mental side of things, like to deal with pain all the time, knowing the pressure that you have to do well, to get on a good high school team, but you're in pain, you can't physically do that. So how do you, like, what did that do to you?
It basically like decreased my mental health in such a way where it affected me in my personal life to even interact with my family members.
Wow.
Yeah, it was bad, I will say, but I'm feeling a lot better now, so just the disclaimer. But yeah, but at the time I would be so sad. Like it would be really hard for me to get out of bed sometimes. Like just knowing that there are people playing out there and not having any pain at all, like no injuries at all. Like just having that thought in the back of your head, like really stressed me out so much. And like having the pressure of my parents, like you gotta do well, it's a business trip, blah 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 blah. Like that really put a huge toll on me too. Like I even had a horrible, like my social life is a huge part of me. I always need to talk to people. Like that really fuels my energy. And I will say I am an extrovert, so obviously you know from that, but that really put a toll on me and stuff, and like my anxiety and stuff with talking to different coaches too. And like even I remember one time my mom and like my best friend at the time and her mom, we went to Chicago and we saw, I'm not really sure what his name, but his last name was Grant. Will Grant or something? I'm not really sure, but he was like 6 feet tall, like an old like Hall of Famer and stuff. And he was coaching a team, and my mom's like, get his attention. I'm like, I can't, I can't at all and stuff. And that's when I knew like something was wrong. But yeah, it really took a toll.
Yeah. So, well, as you're slowly getting better, and this is a huge thing. Like I always tell people when it comes to PT, like we can help you with like the physical stuff. Yeah. The mental stuff comes like after. Yeah. Right. Way after. Right. So as soon as we start solving your physical pain, how long did it take you when you start feeling like yourself again, and how long did it take you to slowly coming out that pain cycle? Right. Because the way I look at it is that when you start getting injured, you feel bad about yourself physically. Then you feel bad about yourself mentally. And then your identity just kind of shifts in some way. But then to slowly regain your physical attribute back, it also takes time to gain your new identity back. So how long did that take you, and what do you do to kind of help with that process?
It took me over... Well, I want to say right now that obviously I'm not at 100% that I want to be. So... I want to say to get me back to me kind of feeling myself, it took me 1.5 years, maybe more. But I'm the type of person to be like, if there's change, it's going to take me a very hard time to get back. So right now, like, I'm very constant, like, my mood shifts, so I'm fine with that. But at the time, like, it took me a very, very long time even to get past the, like, my pain is gone type, like, thinking. Like, it took me so long to the point where I had to, like, see a specialized psychologist to deal with sports, and he was, like, trying to help me and stuff. But it didn't really work out, but which is fine. He did give me very, very useful tips that I still use to this day, and he did contribute to me getting better. But as time went on, and like me thinking to myself, like, oh, like this is bad, like me feeling this way is so horrible, like that made my mood worse. But as time went on, when I started my freshman year, and then that took a while to even like reel it back in, to feel myself because of the basketball season at the time. High school season for me, like mentally, like pushed me to the limit. I will say that like as a person playing freshman year in varsity at the level that my school was playing at, I will say I was not ready for it. At 100% was not ready for it. And that definitely contributed to my mental health in such a negative way, to the point where like it was so bad, like how my knee pain was, and then increased my knee pain, and then my mental health just went down south. But yeah, it took me a very long time to finally be like, hey, I'm myself again. Obviously, I have these bumps in the road, but it's easy to get past, and I can be myself for longer than I have been. Yeah,
it's such a good point, because another thing that people don't take into account when you're dealing with like a younger athlete like yourself is like biologically, there's a lot of changes to your body, especially from middle school to high school, with like different changes in hormones level, your moods and everything else. Like your change of perception of yourself along with the injury make it even worse. Like I moved here to this country at 7th grade. Middle school is the worst part. Like I would never go back to middle school. I'll go back to high school. Yeah. I wouldn't go back to middle school. Yeah. Middle school is so awkward to begin with, but if you're someone like yourself who has high pressure on you, expected to do well, that's another thing, and have this, and when people start talking about you, about who you are as an athlete, your ability, how you can help the team, you start soaking all that in, and then when you go through all these changes as a young adult, you have all these questions coming into your head because your body changed. You can't play the way you used to play anymore because you go from like 4'11" to like 5'2". That's a whole different frame. You have to change the way you run, the way you jump. We work on that a lot. We do. How do you cut? How do you slow down? And like the way that people walk when they're like an infant to adolescent to adult are completely changed because your whole structure changed. So add on top of that is hormones. Add on top of that pressure. Add on top of that the inability to do the things that people expect you to do at a high level playing in varsity. Like, I mean, now that I'm breaking it down, that kind of makes sense, the amount of pressure you were under.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, especially plus, like, I'm a girl, too, so that even adds on to it as well. Because, like, the hormones going through all over the place and stuff. But it's just a lot.
And even, like having that, like, I'm big into, like, Maslow hierarchy of needs when it comes to identity, because we're social creature. We're identify where we are in life based on the people we hang out with in our social status. So if you were a basketball player that playing at high level, let's say you identify yourself as, hey, I'm a basketball player who play at a varsity level as a freshman, and you have pain that's stopping you from fulfilling that identity. Now you have conflicting identity inside your head. And therefore, you're going to start questioning your reality, everything that you do, and considering your friend group as well. Yes. Right? Because when you start having pain, do you start losing friends at all?
Yes, I actually did. When I started having that pain, obviously, I got bullied for a tad bit of, like, 8th grade. But, like, the long story short was I couldn't try out, and they kicked off a popular girl. And obviously, you know how those things go. Yeah. They side with the popular girl and stuff. But I did start to lose quite a lot of friends. I lost my whole friend group from middle school. Like, first, like, before, like, even, like, knees and, like, pain and stuff and the ability to get in touch, like, we were just not compatible and stuff. So I knew I was not going to be friends with them anymore. So I feel like the knees really, like, was the cherry on top in a way.
Yeah.
And then even in freshman year when my knee pain started to come back, I did lose like my freshman year like friend group. Obviously one of them is my best friend right now. From that friend group I had freshman year, but I did lose quite a bit of friends. It is a struggle, especially with pandemic, especially with the online learning. Like at the time, there was no social interaction for me. All I interacted with was the same 7 people in my house at the time. It was my grandparents, my sister, brother, parents, like my aunt, like the same 7 people I would interact with, which really affected me. So yeah, I didn't really have that many friends at the time.
It's so funny you brought that up because during the pandemic, I've never seen so many people looking forward to come to PT. People were like running into the door. They couldn't wait to get out the house to come to PT.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my God, this never happened.
I was one of those people.
It's like, we're about to do something really hard for the next hour. I was like,
fine.
I'm in.
Yeah. I remember I was one of those people and Matt would just be pushing me to the limits. I'm like, oh, this is fun. He's like, I've never seen someone like you. I'm like, yeah.
But like all these things, like I tell people all the time, especially like someone young like you, is that injuries is an opportunity for you to learn some stuff about yourself. And in the beginning, when you get injured, the question people always ask is like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Right. And then what we're trying to do as therapists, you know, is as we get you out of pain and then kind of change your mindset to like, oh, well, I'm kind of glad that happened for me. Because look at what I've learned. Like I've gained a whole new set of friend group. I've learned how to, you know, manage my knee symptom. I discover a new sport, like something that's even more rewarding, more fun. So let's talk about like, how did you, what are some of the things that you now look at and be like, oh, I'm so happy that kind of happened for me?
Like my knee pain, I will say it. I will say this till the day I die. My knee pain, I am kind of like, obviously the pain sucked. Like it was horrible. But because of that, I would not have been able to flourish and have the friends that I have now and to be like in the sport that I love, that I absolutely love. And I feel like with my parents, I feel like if like with them having no clue how volleyball works, really like, and they wanted to learn like the rules and stuff, really gave me an opportunity to be like, hey, maybe I am like doing the right thing, you know? But you know, with my knee pain, like I'm really glad that happened because then I learned how to manage my knees now. I haven't had pain since the first day like I came in from like to Myo. Like ever since that day I haven't had pain. But obviously, yeah, there's gonna be bumps in the road and obviously like we came that together. But I'm really glad that happened because now I know how to control my body. I know how to even work out because before I had no clue. I will say I did not know anything. But from the exercises that you even taught me from Matt, from Nick now, it really benefited me and my body in a very like helpful manner and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I think a lot of people can learn from that. Talk about your transition from basketball to volleyball.
Oh my God, that was horrific.
Yeah.
So basically, during the summer, I told my parents, I was like, I can't play volleyball. I can't play basketball anymore and stuff. I can't. And they were like, okay, fine, that's fine, but pick a new sport. And I was like, oh, why not volleyball? You know, because the volleyball coach at the time, he was like, why can't you do? He asked me when I was in 8th grade because I went to Shadow there, and he was like, just play it one time, you know, you'll love it. So I was like, okay. So I went to the practice. You know, I had my basketball knee pads on.
Oh my God.
I had my basketball shorts on. I had basketball shoes on too. And he was like, what are you wearing? And I'm like, what else am I supposed to wear? But that first practice, I knew from the moment, I was like, wait a minute. This sport, like sports can be fun. Like they're not, it's not just a competition. Yeah. Like it's fun. So it was just horrific that first day. Like I didn't know anything. But from that first day, that was when I first met my 2 best friends now. And that was when we became so close. And from that day, we've been inseparable ever since. So yeah, it really benefited from me.
Wow.
Yeah. How
do you break that down to your parents? Be like, hey, by the way, I'm just going to focus on this now.
It was really rough for both my parents and I because for so many years, for like 7+ years, I just stuck with the basketball and a basket. And then moving to a ball and a net, like playing literally like almost tennis. Like it really like, I wouldn't say they were very supportive of me, but being told I don't want to play the sport anymore, like I feel like hurt them because I do understand their perspective from spending so much money for me to become the best player I am today from when I was a while ago. Like it was kind of hurtful to them, but we did come to agreement that I would play volleyball and that they were okay with that. So now they're learning, and yeah, my dad's going to all my tournaments now, and it's actually really funny because he asked me like really weird questions.
That's
but yeah.
I think that an element of travel sport that parents do not see a return on because it's intangible. It's not tangible as a scholarship, but I think by putting you through that, your parent did invest into you in your own personal growth of if something's worth chasing, it's worth doing.
Yeah.
And it's worth doing not knowing that you're going to have that outcome. Because at the end of the day, it's life. Like how many times that, me personally, I would set a big goal. I would invest a lot of time, and sometimes that just never happened.
Yeah.
Right? But then what it make you realize is that I'm not really chasing that goal. I'm actually chasing the transformation of who I become in pursuing up that goal. Right? Maybe what they really look after is they love the version of Allie now as a junior, how she can carry herself with confidence, extremely comfortable who she is. That is an awesome barista in Starbucks, right? That's something that they can take pride in. Yeah. And maybe if they take some time to walk 3 steps back and be like, actually, that's what I rather prefer than a stressful, in pain version of Allie who's potentially going to play in D1.
Yeah.
Because everything come at a cost, right? And then sometimes the cost that we put in is a sunken cost. Yeah. And it's such a funny concept. You put so much money into something, you don't want to pull it out because you invest so much time.
Yeah.
And you don't have the guts or the honest truth to say to yourself, like, maybe this is not for me.
Yeah.
But I'm so proud of you to be able to say that for yourself. Be like, hey,
oh, thank you.
Basketball is not for me. I'd rather do this. And I'm also super happy that your parents agreed to do that. I mean, they're great people. I know them personally. So like, to me, that's not surprising at all. Another thing I love to talk to you about, because I was also excited. I love seeing small transition when any one of our athletes come in that we get to stay in touch with. Like when you first got your job, I'm like, oh man, that's so good. Because I tell kids all the time, like if I were to go back to college, to high school, I tell them I would work at Starbucks. I would work at Starbucks. Or I was working at Chipotle. I was like, you work at Starbucks.
Chipotle's a good one.
I was like, you work at Starbucks, like you get good coffee, you get great benefits, you learn from a world-class customer service company that will teach you literally how to interact with people.
Yes.
These are skill set that would not be taught in school. So talk to me about your experience as with your first job.
So with Starbucks being my first job, it was definitely more of like, oh yeah, I get to learn my favorite drink. Learning Frappuccinos was the easiest one ever, right? It was definitely very, very, very stressful. If you think Starbucks is so like, oh, making venti strawberry acai refreshers with lemonade or whatever. No, it is. It's like I don't want to say horrible, but I will say it's an amazing job. However, it's so stressful. You have to know what you're doing for being a Starbucks barista, and I give so much credit to people who have been Starbucks partners for over like 10 years. Like I give them so much credit for dealing with the customers that come in and for dealing with just the unbearable, like the employees. Obviously, you're gonna have horrible employees. Like with just dealing with that type of aspect.
Those people who cry in the back. Remember I told you about, like, I'm happy you're not one of those people crying in the back because it's busy.
Yes.
I'm like you work at Starbucks. It's going to be busy. It's the most well-known coffee shop. And what I love about your taking away, like, it's going back to a very true principle in life. Is like hard stuff is hard for a reason.
Yes.
But it's rewarding because it's hard.
Yes. Like for me, when I first started training, it was so hard to memorize all the different drinks. It was so hard. Like each shift, I only had 3 shifts to learn every single drink. I went through every single drink on that menu that you see at Starbucks. And I was like, this is so much for me. Like my brain can't handle this. How am I going to handle APs next year? You know what I mean? As a sophomore, thinking that, like, that's so stressful for you. Thinking about, instead of thinking about your test right now, like you're thinking about Starbucks drinks. But obviously, I thought about it, and like my trainer and we thought of a way, like think of it as like a lab, like you're putting the ingredients in and you're cooking, like think of it making a cake. And I was like, oh, you're right. So as each shift went by, like learning all of the drinks and not thinking about it was so rewarding to me. Like now it's just muscle memory. Now when I see like the Americano, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like 3 shots, hot water, great, I'm done. like it's so easy now and it's so rewarding for me. Like all the mini goals there, like throughout each shift, like even mopping the floors, like even though if you think that's such a simple task, if you mop the floors at Starbucks, it's going to take you 3 hours to do it. Yeah. And it took me 3 hours every time I do it. And it's so rewarding when I'm done.
This is why Starbucks needs to sponsor this podcast.
Yes,
we are
I
literally
agree.
talking about this. No, I love everything about Starbucks. I love everything about organization because I love learning.
Yes.
I'm always a learner. I study great customer service business, right? Because that's what we're in. And in PT, people show up begrudgingly because they're in pain.
Yes.
So it's my job, it's a team job to provide the best experience possible when people are showing up in pain. And I'm like, who is it in which industry are the best at providing customer service? Disney?
Yes.
Starbucks.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm just like, okay, let's dive in. Why is it so good? Right? Like I read as many Starbucks books as possible. So I can totally nerd out on Starbucks. And that's why I say I'm so happy you got a job there. Just because I know they're going to teach you the way you mop. It's just not the way you mop anything.
Yeah, no.
Like there's a strategy behind that because there's efficiency behind
Yes.
it. But the biggest thing, that's why I always tell kids to always work, because I always worked since I was like 12. To know that you have to put your own personal frustration aside when it comes to the job and put on another face to be professional. Like that just teach people professionalism.
Yes.
I think to me, professionalism is extremely simple. Is keeping your crap together of how you feel on the inside by presenting a really good front to the customer, because the customer doesn't care about what's going on in your day, what AP tests you have, or what other girls say about you. They say, hey, I just paid $6 for a cup of coffee that I can get at 7-Eleven for 99 cents, but I want to pay you $6. So A, I can see you make it. B, I can get a really good customer experience where you can hand it over to me, and I can take a first sip and have that first sip feeling.
Yes.
And that's what they advertise for, right? They sell the feeling and the whole experience. And, you know, like the I don't know if you know the history of Starbucks. This is where I'm nerding out.
No, you're good.
Is, you know, like, last name is Schultz, the guy who started.
Yes.
He obviously went to Seattle and then he went to Italy. He loves how the coffee experience in Italy is so much different than the coffee experience in America. They're like, what about this experience? Why is it so unique? Why is it that when I go to Italy and I walk into a coffee shop, something inside me just perked up and it's different, right? Not only just the aroma, he says the community. It's the setting of how you get to see the barista making your coffee, the fact that you have a community that you can sit and you can talk to someone as a friend while smelling coffee, right? I go to Starbucks to get inspiration. Sometimes when I have to write stuff, when I'm writing a book, I don't have anything. I go to Starbucks, I put my headphones on, I smell the coffee, and I just go to work, right? It just fosters creativity. The best thing that ever happened in this century is putting Barnes & Noble and Starbucks together.
Yes.
Because now I get books and I get coffee.
Yes, I agree. I love books. Having that, I feel like having Starbucks and books is such a good connection. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So this is where like I'm like super happy that like you get there, because I think that's it's gonna train you so much. Like, how have you changed since you just get your first job?
Oh my God, I've changed completely. Like especially with the customer service too. Like having, as you said, throwing your crap inside or outside even, like, and just putting a face on for people to show that, hey, I'm here for you, definitely changed me. Like, I think I've become, like, a therapist in a way, like, to my friends and stuff. But, like, just showing that you're there for someone, even if they're having a bad day, good day, whatever type of day, to a customer has definitely like improved me as a person. Like one day, like my best friend or even like a teacher the other day was having like a horrible day, and I was like, I was having a horrible day too, so I just threw it aside. I was like, hey, are you okay? You know, like being the person that I am and being the person who I've become, I just knowing that customer service, even though it does suck, like there are customers who will come in and be like, oh, I want my drink. I want blah, 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 blah. We'll yell at you, but you need to put that smile on your face so that you know that you can calm the situation down and be like, hey, like, it's okay, you know. And especially, I know myself, this will definitely help me when I go off to college. Like, having this experience and plus dealing with the kids and, like, the teenagers in college that didn't have such a good, like, high school, like, experience will definitely help them and also help, like, myself or, like, even you as, like, a person.
Yeah. I think what I've learned, so I always work in the food industry. So I was a waiter, a busboy, all of that. I just remember, I think it was a key moment where if I don't feel well and I was able to put that away and I just pay attention to the person in front of me and like serve them and give them the best experience, half an hour later, I feel really good about myself.
Yes.
Like all my problems kind of just go away. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
It's a Sherry effect where you like people always say like, oh, it's feel good making money, but it feel even better when you give away. And I think, again, it doesn't have to be money. I think that the best currency, especially during this time in your generation, I think it's anything. It's attention. It's time. Yeah. People don't give each other attention or time anymore because they're always on their phone.
And TikTok.
Yep.
Even though I fell into the TikTok trap. But, like, even going back to what you just said, like, feeling better after 30 minutes is one thing I always love. Like, I was going to work so crappy because I came back from school, or, like, even I just, like, woke up super early and just felt, like, horrible. But, like, seeing someone smile because you made them smile is the best feeling in the world. Yeah. And, like, me as a person, I absolutely love giving people the things that they want, and even seeing just their joy glow on their face. Like, that is the type of person who I am, and I definitely love seeing people smile. Yeah.
I love that. That's why I think it's a great job for you. Again, Starbucks plug.
Yes, please.
Go get some Starbucks and go work there. You'll learn a lot as a young professional. I'm doing this new thing only with you, and I think we're going to do this going forward. So I want to keep this opportunity for you to shout out some of the people that have been a positive influence in your life, whether it could be, maybe some coaches, some teachers, shout out your best friend. I think that's a really good one. So I want to give this platform and talk about them, how they help you during which time, because I think what's going on in the world now is that people don't get enough recognition for the things that they do. And sometimes they might only want to do big things, but it's the little things that actually stick with people.
Yeah, so I just want to give a shout out to Julie. She's actually in the office right now. Julie has been my number one role model ever since I was born. She has been the person that's always next to me. We've always had so many things in common. So many things in common. Like our books, our love for books are a big one.
Harry Potter.
Yes. Yep. We love Harry Potter and Disney. We both love Marvel and Wanda. Literally everything she loves, I was the type of person when I was younger, I'm gonna like that too. She was always the number one person I looked up to. And I just love you, obviously, of course. But, I also want to give a shout out to my parents, for being my number one supporters. Obviously, I gave you all a run for your money, literally, for basketball, but also thank you for, supporting me for volleyball. And for just being there, literally being there, through me for with my knees, and obviously with my mental health, and just switching from school to school with all my big milestones. And also to Dylan, obviously he's really annoying. He's little brother, things. He's also in the office right now too, down with Matt. But I just want to say thank you for always putting a smile on my face, even though you're not. You're such a huge introvert and you're so awkward all the time. It's okay, because I still love you. I love playing Fortnite with you. Obviously, I'm a big gamer because he got me into it. And I remember playing Fortnite when you were younger, and even now, last night, we were playing Fortnite. We won. But I want to give a big shout out to both my best friends, Ella and Sam. You guys literally make my day every single day. I love each and every one of you, and both of your, I don't know, what you guys even do to me. You guys give me a run for my money, even, too. It's just funny at this point. Even all of your smiles, all of, your little giggles, especially, Ella, your animations, and Sam, I don't know, your little, events that happen at work just make me smile all the time. I also want to give a big shout out to my boyfriend, Brent. I love you. Yeah, I gotta say it.
Oh, my God. We didn't even meet him yet.
No, not yet. He wanted to come in for PT, actually. I do have to get him.
We're going to grill him.
Well, I know.
We're going to grill him.
I just want to say thank you for being my number one supporter, and obviously helping me through everything, especially with my back now. And you literally have to deal with me, and me being dramatic as always, and my books. And I want to give also 2 big more shout outs to my aunt and my grandparents for always bringing me everywhere, and for driving me, and just for being my number one supporters. And for Atsunaning, you really make me smile. And my grandparents, like, I love you. And, like, thank you for a massage, Nana. That was really great last night. But, yeah.
Wow, that's good. Any coaches? Anyone that...
Coaches. Oh, teachers-wise, Miss Lewis, I love you. You are literally the best thing that has ever come into my life. I literally cannot thank you more than enough with just literally helping me when I have such a horrible day. And thank you for seeing me, like, letting me sit and lunch with you the other day. Thank you. And coach-wise, let's see. Oh, yeah. Coach Paldo, obviously, if you guys don't know, twin backcourt, but their dad, the twins' dad, me and Maya Paldo, but Coach Paulo, you literally, like, made me the person I am today, dealing with all this hectic stuff that's happened in my life. And just, I want to say thank you for letting me deal with the pressure and for letting me know how I know how to deal with pressure. And just thank you. You made me the person who I am today, too. So, yeah.
I love that. That was awesome. I think that was a great segment we just add. And when we were talking about, like, how we're going to do this podcast and how do we get the best out of it, is I think it's to kind of show that, you know, no one's get through this alone.
Yeah.
Right? And when you feel like you're alone, you're never really alone. Like, with the fact that you just list all these people that help you through it, I think whoever listening to this, they can kind of realize, like, oh, I do have that Miss So-and-so in my life.
Yeah.
I do have this friend. I do have that. Why don't I just reach out? Why don't I ask them for help? You know, life is hard enough, but it doesn't have to be harder than doing it by yourself. And I think having community, having someone that you can call upon where you can just talk through, I think that's huge, you know, especially, again, in a world where we're less connected personally, but more connected socially and through the internet. I think we need to kind of go back to a community type of relationship a little bit more. I think we need to go back to the Starbucks models, have coffee together,
Yes.
and then just have face-to-face time.
Yes, I do agree. I feel like also, like, just knowing, like, when you're going through a really rough time, like, just knowing someone's there for you is so hard. Like, it was a struggle for me just to know that someone was there for me. And, like, for people out there, like, just know that you're not alone, and also that there's someone out there, even if they're younger than you, or even older than you by, like, 50 million years or something. But, like, people have your back no matter what.
Yeah. And it helps so much solidifying your self-worth, because, like, when you're in a dark moment with pain, questioning who you are, like, you have someone to be there for you. It solidifies your self-worth, and therefore you stop questioning those things, right? Because your thoughts can take you to dark places. I think we just remember who we like to emulate, who's there for us. It's pull us out that darkness so much quicker than doing it alone.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that. Yeah.
Awesome. So I think we can end on that note.
Okay, cool.
Allie, thank you so much.
Thank
it
you.
It was great. Awesome conversation. So if they want to go experience your Starbucks experience, minimum 25%.
Minimum.
Minimum.
I would like 100% tip.
100% tip.
100%.
All right. What would be the first suggested drink?
Ooh.
You know my favorite.
The cold brew?
No.
No. It's a chai tea latte.
No, come on.
I gotta, come
on. Brown sugar shaken espresso.
Oh, yes. I recommend personally, well, I'm very chocolatey. I like a good iced mocha.
Yeah.
But yeah, with blonde shots. Blonde shot is
blonde flat white.
My world. Oh, that's good too. A blonde vanilla flat white is very good.
Yep.
I will say that is my recommendation.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And again, till next time for another episode of Myokinetix Podcast. Hopefully you guys really enjoy this. And if you do, please subscribe, share to people, because we're just trying to spread really positive impact.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Till next time.